Welcome back to Around the Table with Stacy Smith. We are talking about the elections, the upcoming election on Tuesday, who's going to win, who's going to lose. So, Keith, I saved one of the most hotly contested races in the country for you to give your opinion first. Who wins the Senate race in Pennsylvania, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman or Dr. Mehmet Oz, and why?
Well, in my lifetime, the Republicans have enjoyed tremendous success in the United States Senate in Pennsylvania, notwithstanding Bob Casey's big win in 2006 when it was a second term for George W. and the Democrats swept the nation. He would be the asterisk. But other than that, we've enjoyed a lot of success. But even though we've enjoyed a lot of success, in the same period of time, I saw Democrats always have big leads coming out of the primary. And maybe that's related to the fact that they have a large registration advantage. They're not paying attention to Republicans at the time because they're not making decisions on them. But they always start with big leads and then they dwindle and then they tighten, because over the summer and into the fall, you find out the good, the bad, and the ugly about both candidates. And I always say an educated voter is our best customer. So I think over time, as they got to know both candidates for the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think the advantage and the momentum has switched dramatically to Mr. Oz, or excuse me, Dr. Oz. And dramatically because, listen, it's a tough state. It's a purple state at best. In some cases, you could look at the numbers and think that we're starting to turn blue. But I still believe the momentum is with him. I think people have got educated. They've become comfortable with his positions. And I believe he's going to win by 2 or 3 points. And that's a huge win in Pennsylvania in 2022.
Yeah, we're truly a purple state, and I suspect that it will be close, but I still look to the mail-in voting that occurred pre-debate, and I believe that will give the advantage to Fetterman.
I think it will too. We've talked about the coordinated campaigns, and Josh Shapiro not having a primary was able to start to put a coordinated campaign together statewide for the Democrats. And for your viewers, a coordinated campaign is when all the candidates that are on the ballot that year statewide, they all chip into one pot, so to speak. So for every dollar I spend on a coordinated campaign, I'm saving $4, give or take, because we're all rowing in the same direction. I'm not walking up one side of the street with my literature and seeing Professor Mystic on the other side with his. The D's and Josh in the state party have done a remarkable job. This is one of the best looking coordinated campaigns I've seen the Pennsylvania Democratic Party do in a while. It's really impressive. And because of that,
let me add one thing. I think there's going to be a pretty substantial undervote in this race because neither of these candidates is appealing to a whole lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that aren't going to vote for either one. And so you'll see far less votes cast in this race than you will for the governor's race.
Which speaks to, I think respectfully, speaks to my narrative of a better coordinated campaign. Yeah, you will have an undervote. You'll have more of an undervote if you don't have a good coordinated campaign. Because what does a coordinated campaign do? Identifies the voter that you need to flip or to convince to be for you. Okay, you find them. You get them on your side. You maintain that relationship and you make sure they vote. That's the 4 criteria of a coordinated campaign. And the state party and the coordinated right now is doing that better than no other. So there will be an undervote, I agree, but that coordinated campaign advantage will allow Fetterman to hold serve, I think.
Well, I think that if this polling is anywhere close to being right, the numbers, most recent one I heard from the Muhlenberg poll was it's basically a dead heat, 1% difference. That's amazing considering the registration advantage that they had, that the Democrats have, considering the performance of Shapiro as the governor candidate, and does he have coattails that will bring Fetterman along? But I will go back to this. I think 2 things. The performance at the debate raised concerns to voters on behalf of Mr. Fetterman. And secondly, I go back to crime, and the Republicans have been hitting him on the crime issue. If people are really concerned about crime as much as I think they are, it's going to be a very close race, and I don't think we're going to know the numbers and the winner until sometime on Wednesday afternoon.
Before I make my closing comment, I want to say I think somebody offered Jim Byrne $1,000 for every time he says hold serve. So I think because he said hold serve now at least 5 times in this broadcast, so he's $5,000 richer. Just know that. But anyhow,
and he's buying dinner.
I still remember. Listen, I've said this a million times. This is 1,000,001. Pennsylvania is one of the biggest ticket splitting states in the country. Top 5 has been for 50 years. We've all agreed that the Republicans are going to lose the governor's mansion. So as a result, I think that's another part of the narrative and part of the equation that gives an advantage to Dr. Oz on Tuesday.
I'm going to quote one more time from Real Clear Politics, just so you guys understand how they're coming up with this. They've taken polls from recent history, and they've figured out what the actual numbers were that came in on election night. The polls have been 2.6 percentage points undervaluing the Republican vote. So Fetterman right now has a 47.4 average, Oz 46.2. That's 1.2 points in favor of Mr. Fetterman. I'm sorry, the underweight for the GOP is 3.8 points. The Real Clear Politics is now predicting that Oz will win by 2.6 points based on the underweight of the previous polls. Maybe the pollsters have figured it out and there is no underweight this time, but we'll see.
That is why they play the game.
It's a sport. It's the most popular sport in America.
Indeed it is. As I said, it's a horse race and we're coming right down the final few furlongs to go. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us today on Around the Table. We're going to be back all together on election night on the CBS in Pittsburgh, CBS News Pittsburgh, to give our analysis of what is happening that night and to give the latest election numbers. And we hope that you join us again on that night and also for the next edition of Around the Table. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.